What if a single doctor's visit could destroy everything you thought you knew about love, loyalty, and family? Here, ordinary moments don't stay ordinary for long. A routine blood test becomes a warning. A quiet marriage hides dangerous secrets. And the man who promised forever slowly reveals a life built on deception. Each story pulls you deeper into a world where trust shatters without warning, where family ties conceal dark truths, and where every discovery changes everything. These aren't just stories, they're journeys through betrayal, raw emotion, and shocking revelations that refuse to stay buried. If you've ever wondered how well you truly know the person beside you, you're about to find out, because sometimes the truth doesn't just hurt, it transforms you. The doctor's face changed before a single word was spoken. Eyes lingered too long on the chart, fingers tightening around the file like it carried something dangerous. Then came the question, quiet, careful, almost afraid, about the man at home, about the marriage, about safety. Nothing in that room felt routine anymore. The results didn't just suggest illness, they told a story, one that didn't match the life that had been trusted for years. Numbers don't lie, but people do. And suddenly, every late night, every vague excuse, every unexplained distance took on a new, terrifying meaning. A warning followed. Not gentle, not optional, urgent. Get away from him. The drive home felt longer than ever before, as if the truth had stretched the road itself. Memories started rearranging themselves, no longer soft or forgiving. That anniversary trip that got canceled last minute, the phone always face down, the sudden anger over simple questions. Pieces that once felt small now formed a pattern too clear to ignore. And yet, walking through that front door, there he was, smiling like nothing in the world had changed, like everything was still under control. But something had shifted. Silence became a weapon. Observation turned into power. Every move, every call, every message started to reveal more than he realized. Hidden accounts, secret conversations, names that didn't belong in a marriage. Lies layered so carefully they almost looked like truth, until they didn't. The deeper the search went, the uglier it became. There wasn't just betrayal, there was risk, there was manipulation, there was a life being lived in parallel, one that could have destroyed everything without a single warning if that doctor hadn't spoken up. And the cruelest part? He thought none of it would ever be discovered. So the confrontation never came the way he would expect. No screaming, no breaking down, just quiet, calculated steps. Evidence gathered, truth secured, consequences arranged with precision he would never see coming. Because some betrayals don't deserve closure, they deserve exposure. And when everything finally unraveled, when the truth surfaced in a way he could no longer control, there was no anger left, no heartbreak, no fear. Only the cold satisfaction of knowing the lie had been destroyed at its root. He never saw it coming. The doctor didn't hesitate this time. No softened tone, no careful phrasing. Just a sharp, urgent warning that cut straight through the illusion of a normal life. The kind of warning that doesn't leave room for denial. Something isn't right. You need to look closer at your husband. The words echoed long after leaving that office, settling into every quiet moment like a truth waiting to be faced. At first, it felt impossible. Years of shared routines, familiar laughter, and what looked like trust couldn't just collapse over a few test results. But the numbers didn't lie, and neither did the growing unease that had been ignored for far too long. Back at home, everything looked the same. The same couch, the same pictures, the same man moving through the kitchen like nothing had changed. But now, every detail felt staged, every smile rehearsed. The search for answers didn't start loudly. It began in silence, watching, listening, noticing. Late-night messages that stopped the second footsteps approached, calls taken in another room, a growing distance that no longer felt accidental. Then came the first crack, a name repeated too often in hidden threads, a conversation that went beyond harmless, words that carried intimacy meant for someone else. It wasn't just betrayal, it was a whole other life unfolding behind closed doors, and that was only the beginning. The deeper the search went, the more disturbing it became. Financial records that didn't add up, payments to places never mentioned, a pattern of deception so calculated it felt like living with a stranger wearing a familiar face. But the truth buried within the family cut the deepest. A secret connection that should never have existed. Lies stretching beyond the marriage, weaving into relationships that were supposed to be built on trust. The realization hit slowly, then all at once. This wasn't just about infidelity. It was something darker. Something that had been hidden long before suspicion ever began. Confrontation wasn't immediate. It wasn't emotional. It was patient. Evidence was collected piece by piece, every detail forming a complete picture he never thought anyone would see. And when the moment finally came, it wasn't loud or chaotic. It was controlled. Everything laid out, every lie exposed, every secret dragged into the light where it couldn't be twisted or denied. The shock in his eyes said everything. Because the man who thought he had everything under control never imagined the truth would come from the one place he couldn't manipulate. And by the time he realized it, there was nothing left to save. Only consequences waiting in silence. It was supposed to be routine. A simple blood test, the kind done without a second thought, filed away with all the other ordinary parts of life. Nothing about that morning hinted at the unraveling waiting just hours ahead. But the doctor's tone changed everything. There was hesitation, then a careful choice of words that didn't quite hide the concern. The results weren't just unusual, they were impossible to explain within the boundaries of a faithful marriage. Something was wrong, deeply wrong, and it pointed in one direction. Back home, the walls felt tighter. Familiar spaces carried a strange weight, as if they had been holding secrets all along. Every glance at him felt different now, too casual, too practiced, as if he had perfected the art of looking innocent. Trust didn't shatter all at once. It cracked slowly, with each memory replaying under a harsher light. Missed calls explained too quickly, trips that never quite made sense. The way certain topics were always avoided, brushed aside with just enough charm to keep questions from forming. The search for truth didn't take long to find its first real fracture. Hidden messages surfaced, carefully buried but not enough. Conversations that revealed intimacy, manipulation, and something colder beneath it all. There wasn't just another person, there were layers, lies built on lies, each one shielding something far worse. Then came the family history. Old stories that never added up suddenly demanded attention. Relationships that felt slightly off, now impossible to ignore. Digging deeper, uncovered connections that should never have existed, secrets passed down and protected with silence. The kind of truth that doesn't just break trust, it poisons it. Love didn't just fade, it turned into something sharp, something dangerous. Because this wasn't just betrayal, it was a calculated life, carefully constructed to keep everything hidden while taking everything that was freely given. The realization settled in with a quiet, burning clarity. None of it was accidental, and that changed everything. There was no confrontation fueled by emotion, no desperate need for explanations, only patience, only strategy. Every piece of evidence was gathered with precision, every lie documented, every hidden corner of his life pulled into the light, where it could no longer be denied or twisted into something else. By the time the truth was revealed, it wasn't a question anymore. It was a reckoning. The look on his face said enough. Shock, fear, the sudden collapse of control he thought would never slip away, because the story he had written for so long had finally reached its end. And this time, there was no rewriting it. The moment didn't feel real at first. Just a quiet office, a stack of papers, and a doctor struggling to hold eye contact. Then came the shift, the kind that changes everything without raising its voice. A pause, a breath, a question that didn't belong in a routine visit. Are you absolutely sure about your husband? The air turned heavy. The results in that file weren't just numbers, they were evidence. Evidence of something that couldn't exist in a marriage built on honesty. Something that pointed to betrayal, not suspicion, but fact. Walking out of that office felt like stepping into a different life, one where every memory demanded to be re-examined. Every small moment now carried a second meaning. The late nights, the unexplained absences, the way conversations always seemed to circle away from certain topics. At home, nothing looked different. That was the most disturbing part. He moved through the house like always, comfortable, confident, untouched by the storm that had already begun. A smile offered without hesitation, a voice steady, familiar, practiced. But now it all felt staged. The truth didn't come all at once. It unfolded slowly, each discovery pulling back another layer of something darker than expected. A hidden phone, conversations carefully deleted but not completely erased, names that appeared too often, messages that revealed more than they tried to hide. There wasn't just betrayal, there was planning. The deeper it went, the more it exposed. Financial secrets tied to people never mentioned. Connections that stretched into places they should have never reached. And then, the family. Threads linking everything together in a way that made the truth even more disturbing. This wasn't a single lie. It was a system of lies, built over time, protected by silence, and maintained with precision. Emotions didn't explode. They sharpened, turned cold, focused. Because confronting him wasn't enough, not after everything that had been uncovered, not after realizing how carefully the deception had been constructed. So the silence continued, but it changed. It became deliberate. Every move was calculated, every piece of evidence secured, every secret documented until there was nothing left for him to deny. The storm that began in that doctor's office grew quietly, gathering strength where he couldn't see it. And when it finally broke, it didn't come with chaos. It came with truth laid out so clearly, so completely, that there was no escape left. No explanation that could fix it. No lie strong enough to cover it. Just the end of everything he thought would stay hidden, and the quiet satisfaction of watching it all fall apart. If this story pulled you in and left you questioning everything, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more unforgettable stories of betrayal, truth, and revenge, because the next secret is already waiting.